Everyone is always talking about how incredible Final Fantasy XIV's story is, how amazing the combat is in Black Desert Online, how World of Warcraft... And you know what? They're right. The titans that dominate this industry are everything people say and more. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other MMOs that are comparable in different areas. X game does not need to be better than Y game to provide us something fun, something different. And that's why we're here today to discuss 9 MMOs that were once considered to be incredible games, but have since vanished from mainstream coverage. Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment here to thank all of the absolute chads and chadettes that support this channel via Patreon. You're all freaking legends, seriously, each and every single one of you. I would offer to give each of you a kiss, but I suffer from severe intimacy issues. Additionally, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest MMO gacha and gaming news, take a second here to follow MRSSSTIX and I over on Twitter. We tweet daily. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. Do you enjoy walking around home without any pants on? Because I do. I spend half the time I record videos completely pantsless. Sometimes I stream pantsless. I was actually in a video call with Josh Strive Hayes like a month and a half ago, and he had no idea that I had no pants on. Age of Conan allows for players to channel their inner Slav by playing the game with a minimalistic style. No pants, heck, no top either. If you want to, you can run around the game 100% nude, which became a slight problem when MRSSSTIX and I were streaming this a month ago. Twitch is not too fond of nip-nips or... Well, you know where I'm going with this, right? Age of Conan is a fantasy MMO released back in May 2008. Unfortunately, the developers haven't shown any care for this game in a long time. It's been in a very slow, very steady state of decline for years now. Even despite the fun that MRSSSTIX and I had in the 15 or so hours we played recently, its adult narrative, its action combat, its great quality voice acting, its enormous world. Now, in spite of all of this, what I've heard from players is that after the initial zone, everything spirals rapidly downhill in terms of quality, which is a shame given I've never played an MMO that felt like a single player game. Wait, no, scratch that. Every MMO these days feels like a single player game. Pokemon with waifus. That's the best comparison that I can make for ATLANTICA Online. If you love collecting husbandos and waifus and you're a massive fan of turn-based combat, then this is probably exactly what you're after. ATLANTICA Online is a fantasy MMO released back in October 2008. It's a very confusing MMO at first. I had no idea that, at the time at least, it implemented gacha before gacha games were even a thing, as you're fully capable of running around the world, seeking out NPCs and then adding them to your harem. Literally, you can walk up to them and just throw them into your backpack. There's no battle, you aren't required to weaken them, there's no chance that they'll break free from their Pokeball. You're like, hey, you're hot, get in here. Then you level them, you battle with them, you explore what there is to explore of the world, you have a blast. Because there really aren't any other MMOs like this currently available. The good old days of setting up your VCR to record Dragon Ball Z, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Sailor movies that used to air on TV in the mornings before school. Those were good times, back when I could sleep an entire night without waking up to roll over due to a sore back or a stiff neck. Digimon Super Rumble admittedly has yet to fully launch globally. However, just because it hasn't released over here yet does not mean that you can't play it. You just need to work a little magic, kinda like Wizardmon. Plus, getting to see Lady Devamon and Anjouwamon in all of their HD glory is well worth the hassle. Interestingly, Digimon Super Rumble makes use of instant turn-based combat, kinda like an older JRPG, and it works well. The world is filled with zones that you likely remember from the Digimon Adventure anime series. I'll admit I did nerd out a little bit while playing this for the first time. The only issue is translating what's being said. But let's be real, most localized MMOs from Korea, from China specifically, make barely any sense anyway, right? Dragon Nest has the best PvP in any MMO. That's literally what every single person tells me whenever I ask them about Dragon Nest, and if it did, I'm sure it would have retained a much healthier player base than it currently does. Dragon Nest is an anime MMO released back in March 2010. It has some pretty decent action combat, and I know I'll get some hate for saying this, but some decent PvP from what I've seen as well. It's not your traditional MMO though, rather it's a hub MMO. It has central hubs that you utilize to chat up girls by flexing that sick PvP rating that you've amassed by showing off your epic mounts, and then you run into one of the many dungeons that are available to you. It's pretty much the game. So if you're a fan of running dungeons a lot, then, well, I guess you could play Dungeon Fighter Online or Dragon Nest. Whenever I talk about FLYFF, I mentioned that it was one of the, it was actually the first MMO that truly allowed for me to appreciate aerial exploration. I remember when you hit a high enough level that you were gifted a broomstick and you could freely soar through the skies at like 3 miles per hour. It was wild. Your heart was racing. You'd see NPCs walking beneath you at twice your speed. But you know what, hey, they could never truly appreciate the reality that you were now living. FLYFF is an anime MMO that released back in August 2004, almost 2 decades ago. This game is probably older than half of you watching, so take a moment to think about that. FLYFF is a very basic, very traditional MMO. It looks dated, it feels dated, realistically, it is dated. If you need something pretty to hold your attention, then this probably isn't for you. Neither is the larger MMO genre overall, given that the most popular MMOs are Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft. It features tab target combat, has a large open world to explore, and a ton of classes and subclasses to choose between, which can be a little overwhelming at times if I'm being honest. Do you enjoy your job? Because that is what MABINOGI is, a second job. I wish I were kidding, but I'm not. MABINOGI is an MMO that people playing since its inception have still not managed to conquer. Why? Because it never ends. Not only can you rebirth your character, increasing your statistics and resetting you back to the state you were in when you were pooped out of your mother, but due to that, you'll never ever hit the level cap. From what I've found on Google, the max level in MABINOGI is currently 4,294,967,295. And no, I did not pull that number out of my ass. And if that number is not daunting enough, did you know you can actually get a job in-game? No, not a crafting profession, I mean an actual job. So you work your IRL job to pay to work a job in-game while trying to find the spare time to hit a level cap that you'll never be able to reach. Yeah, wrap your head around that. MABINOGI is an anime MMO released back in 2004 and to date is still one of the most unique MMOs that I have ever played. From its unique combat system that is honestly impossible to describe, to its unique graphical style, to its world. Everything about this game is both a pleasure to experience for the first time and something you wholeheartedly loathe about the game. Are you an alcoholic? No. Altaholic, not alcoholic. Very different things. Although, after playing Ragnarok Online, you'll probably need to go to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. Ragnarok Online is an anime MMO released back in August 2002, and since 2002, it has retained the title of most annoying MMO to level alternate classes in, due to a number of reasons like the level cap, selection of classes, difficulty. Ragnarok Online is a sprite-based MMO. It looks gorgeous given its release date. It uses a point-and-click movement system, which is something that you don't typically find in MMOs, especially PvP MMOs. This is a game that gives you unfiltered freedom. You start the game and then you just go do whatever the hell you want. You'll probably die a lot, but the game doesn't care. Just go find cool shit, kill some things, level up. Scarlet Blade is the MMO that you don't want to let your friends know you play, or your family, or your girlfriend, especially after she sees what your characters are wearing. It appeals to the lowest form of degenerate, so you guys and me. Scarlet Blade is a sci-fi MMO released back in March 2013. It's an MMO about booba, booty, and babes. I'm not kidding you. This is literally the holy trinity of bees. There's no focus on narrative, the hybrid combat is average, the world is basic, it's flat and largely empty, but the character models in this game, for the female NPCs and for the female playable classes, is otherworldly. Even by today's standards, this game somehow manages to feature some of the hottest waifu material in the MMO genre. To further my point, there's a nightclub in the main city with hundreds of naked women dancing, including other players, because you can take it all off. This is easily the best, worst game that I've ever played. Secret World Legends has so many incredible aspects, yet at the same time it was so poorly handled, especially its transition from the Secret World to Secret World Legends, that it's also a shell of its former self. And even so, it's still one of the highest quality free MMOs that you'll find. It has incredible voice acting, kinda average combat, a fantastic narrative split between 3 different factions, kinda average graphics, massive worlds to explore, kinda average content. This has all the makings of one of the best games this genre has to offer, but it ended up being arguably a pretty damn good free MMO if you can overlook its glaring issues. Secret World Legends is a modern day MMO released as The Secret World back in July 2012 and is still one of the MMOs that I tend to find myself returning to occasionally, and those are the 9 best MMOs that nobody plays. Don't know why, given they're all good in their own right, but maybe we'll see a small injection of new players into them after this, who knows. Now, if you're looking for something different to play, have you tried this game on screen, or alternatively, this list of the most popular gacha games currently in 2022, which everyone, and I mean everyone, is playing?